welcome back to my Creating Compatibility series. It's Christopher Taylor with Sovereign Harmony. And today we're going to focus on the character that most people are familiar with when it comes to the idea of compatibility. And that is the sun. Almost everyone, knows their sun sign. So they know when they were born. If you have your birthday, you're going to know what your sun sign is. You don't need to even get a chart. In most cases, most people know how the calendar splits up and what astrological sign their sun falls into based on when their birthday is. And if you haven't watched the overview video, I encourage you to watch that first before you jump into these individual videos on the different characters. This one, we're focusing on the sun. In the other videos, I'm focusing on Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the moon. And we're looking at those in the four modes, the unconscious modes, the elements. So that is fire, air, earth, and water. And we're also going to be comparing each of the characters to a HeartMath technique that's an appropriate HeartMath technique. In this case, we're talking about the Inner Ease technique, and we'll see why that's appropriate here in a minute. So we'll just get right into it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. So this is where most people get astrology wrong, in that they think that astrology has to do with figuring out what your fate is, when in reality, astrology is about making the unconscious conscious. That way you can direct your life. And it isn't something that is just fatefully happening to you. So it's kind of the opposite of what people think. And there's more than just the sun in astrology, but this is the most popular one, the one that people, again, don't even need to have your chart available to know what your sun sign is. And so we're looking in this series at all 5 planets up top: the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. In this case, the sun. And so just a reminder, this was in the overview video as well, but the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. A nice analogy is just relating it to the experiences of the characters in The Wizard of Oz, in that each of these characters presume to lack one of these elements. In the case of Dorothy, she, there's no place like home. She wanted some grounding, some stability, etc. So she was craving earth, so as if she wasn't experiencing enough earth in her life. Okay, she comes across a scarecrow who assumes he has no brain, that he got no intellect, no communication ability. That's what air energy has to do with. So he's really kind of looking for that missing element in himself. And then the Tin Man. This is someone that was looking for depth in the heart and feelings. That's the water energy. Okay. And then finally, with the Cowardly Lion, we have fire energy. That's courage, initiative, confidence. And so he was lacking this courage, or at least in his perception he was. Okay. And so there's a nice way to look at these 4 elements. So we're going to look at the sun in these 4 elements. And so just a reminder, sun in Aries is a fire, also Leo and Sagittarius. If your sun is in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, that's earth. If it's in Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, that's air. And if it's in Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, that's water. All right. So here's my chart again, just like in the overview in the other videos. If you've seen them, these are the 5 characters that we're looking at. And this is what the sun looks like in your chart. So my sun is in Pisces, a water sign. But you can see that the other characters are in different signs, like Mercury in Aries, moon in Virgo, that's an earth sign, Aries is fire, and then Venus in Aquarius. So I have all 4 elements represented in my 5 characters. Not everyone does. Okay. But the idea is we don't get the complete picture from just our sun sign. That's why sun sign forecasts in general, in my opinion, are just for they're just for entertainment, and it's how you sell books, because most people just aren't going to go deeper than that. Okay. But there's a lot more dynamics to an individual than just the sun signs, is the point. Okay, so the sun is the core vibration. It's the inner self. It's the vibration we would emanate at if we had nothing to fear, nothing to protect. If we could just be what we are. It's our true inner self. That's why the Inner Ease technique in HeartMath is very appropriate, because it has to do with the inner self. And so we all kind of vibrate at a different internal level, and the other planets represent other aspects of ourselves, our communication with Mercury, if you've seen that video, our desires and our preferences with Venus, or our action style with Mars, and our moon, which is our essentially our emotional reaction and our internal needs. Okay, and the sun is just that pure life force. Okay, energy. And so going into the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, water. You can think of the sun as just literally that I am presence, that sort of stillness, right? The inner stillness that emanates constantly, like a nuclear generator. That kind of like the sun itself. It's kind of like a self-generating device, and that's kind of like what we can think of our energy on the inside as well. So fiery people with fire on the inside, that true inner self, truly enjoy. They need some sense of adventure, some sense of newness. So they can, and there's plenty of fire signs working predictable jobs and living a pretty routine life and whatnot. But there's got to be something driving that life for a fire sign. They really need to feel like there is something new on the horizon at all times, and so they can act in the outside world and do mundane things, but internally there's always that fire, that wanting more, wanting to expand. For air signs, there's that need to really understand things on an intellectual level. So even if someone with an air sign isn't particularly intellectual, there's always a sense that explaining things and understanding where things fit compared to where they don't, understanding those boundaries. It's very important for people that are emanating from an air energy with their internal self, the sun. Okay, earth. So that's air. So fire is there, air is there, and then we go to earth. So with earth energy, these are people that are practical and stable. So internally, they're at peace when there is a sense of predictability in life, when there's a sense of solid frameworks and foundations for life. Okay, and for water signs, that's the depth. That's the sun and water is total depth and meaning in life. And so people with water, sun and water tend to need a deep meaning and a deep connection to their life and to others. Okay, and so very sensitive energy, sun in Cancer or Scorpio, Pisces, for example, very deep, very profound. So, but you can meet water people that have sun and water that are very sociable, communicative, and active, etc., because of the other components, the other unconscious components that drive us. But on the deepest level, people with sun and water just want that connection, just want that purpose in life. Okay, so we're all different. Again, it's very important to learn to talk to people you disagree with. So we don't have to go through life, trying to find agreement to find our peace. Okay, so peace is not the absence of conflict; it's the balance of that conflict, and that conflict's going to exist regardless. And just going back to the HeartMath information again, if you haven't seen the overview video, I recommend you see that before you watch this, because it will go over this HeartMath information. So if you remember, resilience is that ability to face stress. So the higher our resilience, the more stress we can deal with. So just like we can't avoid conflict, we cannot avoid stress. So with conflict, we can find balance with it. And with stress, we can find a better way of working with it. And that's what resilience is. And that's what HeartMath tools help do for us, okay? And so this is, again, the example of a healthy heart rhythm and an unhealthy or incoherent heart rhythm, okay? So our heart rate varies. And when it's healthy, it's going to vary up and down in a regular pattern. But when it's varying in outside of a regular pattern, that's when it's incoherent. And the devices that HeartMath provides, you can clip it to your ear. It takes your heart rate, and you can measure your heart rate variability before an activity, during an activity, and after an activity, and also practice the tools to consciously put ourselves into a healthy state. And so we're not going to use the tool here, but we're going to just go over what it does. Okay. And so self-awareness, again, we're talking about the inner self when we talk about the sun and the sun element. So one of the most important steps in being able to stop energy drains and increase that resilience and ability to hold, to work through stress is to identify unnecessary energy expenditures. Okay. And so we really want to make sure that we're maintaining our energy and not letting it, drift from us into different activities. So the Inner Ease technique is designed to help kind of contain the energy, help keep our energy for our inner self. Okay, and so it's going to really help nurture that sun energy, that true nature that we have. And it's very simple, like the other techniques. If you've seen the other videos, it's all based on this heart-focused breathing, but just with different variations of it. Okay, and so in this case, we just focus on our heart, like kind of right in the center of your chest, and it's just easy breaths in, about 5 seconds or so, and a nice slow, easy breath out. for about 5 seconds. And you do that for a few minutes. And if you're wearing the device, you're going to see that you're starting to come into coherence and your heart rate variability is coming into the proper pattern. And so you can start with that just to kind of, this is something you can do in the beginning of the day, essentially to set your tone for the day. Okay. And just keep your kind of like creating your bubble that you're going to be able to live within and not have it draining throughout the day. And so what you do is you basically do, after getting into coherence with the heart focused breathing, you just draw in a feeling of inner ease. And so we can consciously do that. It's something that we can just kind of bring into our space. Okay. And then the last part of it is to then kind of visualize ourselves anchoring that in, kind of visualize the boundaries of that bubble, kind of getting stronger and more resilient so that any kind of interference isn't going to pop our bubble and it's not going to drain our bubble in any way. Okay. This is something you can do every day, multiple times a day. And it's important to understand that ease does not mean that we're not doing anything. A lot of times meditation essentially is not doing anything, right? This is different than meditation. This is coming into a state of inner ease so you can be actively calm. Okay, so we want to be living our lives, but we can live our lives from that calm, coherent center versus, being drained and incoherent, essentially. So being in a state of ease doesn't mean that you necessarily have to slow down your physical pace, but it can mean that at times. So ease creates a sensitivity to the appropriate inner pace for handling each situation. So some situations need a higher pace, some need a lower. Part of this technique is helping us determine what pace we should be, or where we should be that's an appropriate place to be for that pace, for whatever that activity is. Okay, and that helps create some flow in life. Some applications to this, like I said, you can start the day, set the tone for the day, or right before a stressful situation, get your bubble ready, essentially. Okay, so it helps to discern important issues and make better decisions, prevent or reduce anger, overwhelm, or anxiety, helps us stay poised and ease to maintain judgment-free participation in meetings and conversations. So if we feel protected in our bubble, we'll also feel more confident participating because we don't feel like we're going to get our energy drained in that situation. It helps to create or restore patience and resilience when needed, and it enhances creativity and intuitive insight. So we're more in touch with kind of our emotions and thoughts and how they're interacting when we're in that state of inner ease. Okay. And so you can see how useful this can be in both a family situation, but also in a professional situation, of course. So again, everyone is here to learn something. That's why we do things differently. That's why we are different. That's why we emanate different energies. Okay. So take the best, leave the rest here, and hear everyone, follow no one. That's my advice. And just remember, to be free, we must disagree. Trying to just agree or pretend to agree will never allow us to be free. It's only when we accept our disagreements and we approach them consciously that we can then be free and allow others to be free as well. So that wraps up this portion of creating compatibility with the sun and the inner ease technique. Be sure to watch the overview video if you haven't, to get a better sense of how this fits in, and watch the other videos on the moon, the Mercury, Venus, and Mars in our charts, and how those operate in the elements, and then get a good sense of your own chart and what, how those other characters either coincide or conflict with the inner self, the sun energy. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, send it to anyone you think would enjoy this. And if you're interested in setting up a workshop via Zoom or in person to do this kind of thing for a work event or a family situation, that's what I'm here for. So feel free to reach out. You can catch me on my YouTube channel here, or you can get me on Facebook, Sovereign Harmony Astrology, or on Telegram, Sovereign Harmony Astrology, where you can get more daily updates about what's going on with the planets. And I also do individual readings as well. So thanks again for coming by, and I hope you watch the rest of the series and let me know what you think, and we will talk to you later. Bye.